Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to Historian Radio's Echoes of the News, and I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, and these were today's headlines as history first heard them. On this day, in 1521, Martin Luther, founder of Protestantism, was excommunicated following his refusal to retract any of his views about the wrongs of the Catholic Church. This would be a significant moment in the history of Christianity and in the history of the Church. Moving forward, on this day, in 1777, George Washington defeated the British led by General Cornwallis at the Battle of Princeton during the American War of Independence, a significant victory gained by the American Minutemen and Patriots against the English occupiers. Moving forward, on this day in 1924, English explorer Howard Carter discovered the sarcophagus of Tutankhamun in the Valley of the Kings near Luxor in Egypt. When it was opened on the 12th of January, when it was opened on the 12th of February 1924, they found the golden effigy of the young king, a fascinating moment in archaeological history, unearthing of the tomb of King Tutankhamun. Truly, this would be a significant moment in the field of Egyptology. Moving forward, on this day in 1958, Sir Edmund Hillary, on the subject of significant moments, Sir Edmund Hillary, British conqueror of Mount Everest in 1953, reached the South Pole, a significant moment in the exploration of the South Pole. Moving forward, and lastly, on this day in 1988, the first advertisements in a Soviet newspaper appeared. In specific, this newspaper was Izvestia. One was a full-page advertisement by a French industrial company, and the other was shared by Soviet, West German, and Belgian industrial companies. For the first time in ever, actually, a commercial advertisement would be seen in a Soviet newspaper, and this would be credited to the glasnost and perestroika reforms that were being implemented in the Soviet Union at that time. And on that note, we conclude today's headlines of the day. And now we move on to the next segment of our show, where we recount the famous births and deaths of famous figures from the 19th and 20th centuries and sometimes earlier. Born on this day, 106 BC, was Marcus Tullius Cicero, Roman orator and statesman. After Caesar's assassination, he spoke in favor of a republican Rome, which unfortunately led to his eventual death. And alongside him in 1883, Clement Attlee, British Labour Prime Minister from 1945 to 1951, who made sweeping social reforms, was born on this day. And he would share his date of birth with Herbert Morrison in 1888, the Labour MP who would lead the House of Commons during his premiership. And unfortunately, on this day, in 1795, Josiah Wedgwood, English founder of the famous pottery that still bears his name, passed away on this day, the 3rd of January, 1795. And in 1967, Jack Ruby, the man who shot Lee Harvey Oswald before he could be tried for the alleged assassination of President John F. Kennedy, he was sentenced to death. That is to say, Jack Ruby, was sentenced to death, but unfortunately, he died before he could stand trial in hospital due to a blood clot in the lungs. And alongside him in 1979, Conrad Hilton, American hotel magnate, would also breathe his last. And on that note, we conclude today's headlines of the day. You are watching and listening to Historian Radio's Echoes of the News, and I am Muhammad Hussain Qazi, and these were today's headlines as history first heard them. Good night.